HealthCare.gov insurance markets are reopening, and this is all part of a plan that President Joe Biden has. Where he plans to reopen the healthcare.gov insurance markets. If you don't know what that is, it's the federal insurance marketplace that currently serves 36 states. It's frequently referred to as Obamacare. So President Joe Biden, he is planning to have a special sign-up opportunity that is geared to helping people who not just need coverage for the sake of needing coverage, but people who need coverage due to the coronavirus pandemic. He is expected, that is President Biden, he's expected to sign an executive order on this Thursday, so tomorrow. The details of that executive order are still being finalized. And so part of what's being finalized at this point, even though he knows he wants to do it, is that he is kind of twofold. He wants to give the Department of Health and Human Services time to plan a marketing campaign so that way people actually know about this special enrollment period. But in addition to that, he wants to give insurers time to prepare for what they are going to assume will be an influx of new patients, an influx of new customers. So it's very considerate if you ask me. Again, this is important. I know, we are focused as an organization on COVID-19 economic stimulus and relief, but this is important because, again, as was mentioned when the show opened, there are so many Americans who have lost their health insurance, and they've lost it again due to the fact that they've lost their job through no fault of their own. They lost it because of this thing called COVID, called coronavirus, called COVID-19, called the pandemic that we are dealing with. We could and we should have this conversation as a country, how healthcare should not be tied to employment. If we are being honest with ourselves as a collective, if we have our eyes and ears open, the current times are communicating something very important to us. And that is that we cannot afford, as a people, whether it be as individuals or as a collective group of people, we cannot afford to have healthcare tied to employments. But that is another conversation for another day. We won't have that during today's episode. But again, you can't look at and examine the current situation without noticing that very important fact. Before I end this segment, which obviously is planning and panning out to be a fairly quick segment, I do want to mention, since I'm on the subject of healthcare, I do want to mention President Joe Biden's kind of ultimate plan for healthcare. Again, I know we're focused on COVID-19 economic stimulus and relief, but in this very unique situation in which we find ourselves as a nation, we are totally dealing with a situation in which our economic security is tied to our healthcare security as both individuals and a collective. So I do feel that it is appropriate for me to kind of make this observation. But so just a quick note about President Biden's ultimate kind of plan for healthcare, if you don't know, kind of speaking to the reference or speaking to the point that I just made about how we should not have healthcare kind of tied to employment. President Biden, he has promised that he does want to build on former President Barack Obama's health law, which ultimately seeks to kind of push the United States towards coverage for all. If you paid attention to politics at the time when Obamacare was kind of in the makings, you will absolutely know that what we ended up with in terms of Obamacare was absolutely not what President Obama really wanted. It was really all he could get through the Congress at that time. He wanted to move towards something that was more of a single payer type system. obviously didn't have that. We don't have that. But again, Obamacare was kind of the best we could get at the time. And so, anywho, back to President Biden. He wants to kind of continue kind of that goal to push the United States towards coverage for all. And the fact that we cannot go without mentioning is that he's absolutely going to need congressional approval to do it. And quite frankly, there is opposition that the Obamacare law, and I'm using air quotes here that you can't see, there is still opposition that that law is facing, and it really runs deep within the Republican Party. Which is kind of interesting since, again, ultimately what we ended up with was something that, quite frankly, was majority Republican crafted. It was actually crafted after kind of something that was happening with a Republican in his state. But again, that's another subject for another day. I do want to close here by mentioning something that the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, said, and I'm quoting here. President Biden does not believe, as a principle, it should be difficult for people to gain access to healthcare, end quote. And I do want to share that with you, because this is one way. The fact that he is preparing to come out with that executive order tomorrow, that is one way that he is proving that he is not just saying that in some sort of hypothetical way or philosophical way, or he's not just saying it to tickle the ears of people. We have here yet another demonstration, as we have seen over the past now week that he has been in office. We have seen him making and taking decisive actions, putting feet to the pavement to make good on the promises that he made. And that's something that, whether you voted for him or not, if you do recognize it, if you are honest about it, you should appreciate it, because it is something that, whether a Democrat or Republican, it's something that the American people are not, absolutely not, again, regardless of if it's been a Democrat or Republican, we're not accustomed to seeing that. And quite frankly, it feels good. He's proving that he wants to make good on his promises to the American people.